Justin Paul Abram and Mike Parton had this interesting conversation about how Mike goes into the realm of heaven. And, Justin has this thing that he just gets filled with the joy and the new wine of the Lord, and then he just transitions into the realm of heaven. But Mike Parsons is maybe a little bit more methodical, maybe a little bit more how Ian Clayton does it, how he enter into the realm of heaven. And so it's interesting to see these heroes of faith, how they entered in. And so today I thought, let's just quickly listen to them, how they discuss their favorite way, their favorite places where they are when they enter in, and also their favorite places in heaven.
Have you got like a favorite seat where you sit down to start this, or a favorite place, or do you do it anywhere?
I can do it anywhere because I'm already doing it. Therefore, it's just a shift of consciousness to engage where I already am, and then become consciously aware of where I already am. But initially, the encounters were cognitive, and I learned where all those places were. So initially, there were three beings from three dimensions, and over a period of time, I engaged them a number of times, and then went into their dimensions and did what the Father wanted me to do.
We'll come into that in a second. So do you have like a favorite seat where you sit down, you just breathe and you enjoy Yahweh? You've said to me before that where your entry point for you is going into the Father's love. Is that right? You go in, so you go into that place where you know he's Papa Daddy and he loves you and you love him, and you just kind of enjoy that. Is that right? Is that how it opens for you?
Yeah. And in a sense, I'm there now. So all I have to do is just engage that, and then I'm consciously aware of that now. Yeah. So it's a conscious state of reality and being that I can just engage consciously anytime. But every day, I love to just engage the Father and rest there. So yeah, I've got a reclining settee thing. So I just recline, enjoy, and wherever that goes, wherever the Father's intentions take me, then I will engage that consciously.
Beautiful. That's so beautiful. So, I mean, how it works for me is you start to get a feeling for different places, don't you? So you might not see it, but you'll feel it. Like the Father's love, there's a feeling, isn't there, with that?
Yeah, I mean, all my senses are involved. So my whole being's involved. I feel it. I mean, I journal everything. So my body, I'm awake, my eyes are open, I'm journaling, but I'm there. So I'm really just describing where I am, wherever that might be. And that might be in the light of the Father's presence. That might be within the Father's heart. That might be within the eternal aspect of God's presence, where everything is all now anyway.
Now, I assume that Justin Paul Abram really have a favorite place where he likes to sit, and when he prays, he maybe listens to worship music, and then he engages. You always see him when you read different verses in the Bible, how that verses just comes and he becomes one with what God say and with God's Spirit, and then he enters into the realm of the Spirit. Now, Mike said something interesting. He said, so let me just write here, my favorite place to engage. Oops, I'm going to run out of space. I ran out of space. Okay, my favorite place to engage. So what Mike says, that his heart, so there's Mike now, and that could be you also and me, his heart is always connected. So if I say this is heaven, so what he says his heart is always connected with heaven. That is what Mike says. And then let's say here is his conscience. So I'm going to try to draw a brain. So that's his soul. Right? And so his soul can decide now where the focus is. So his focus can be by him where he is. There's Mike. There's here. Or his focus can be in heaven. But he actually says his spirit man is always inside of him, and his spirit man is also in heaven at all times. And so for him, to enter into the realm of heaven is really just a focus shift from thinking about a natural realm into thinking about where is in heaven, and becoming aware of where is in heaven and the presence, the light, and the love of God. Now, in this next, they talk about this, and then the next section they start to talk about different places in heaven. So I want to say something about it, but let's first listen to them talk about it, and then I'll come back again.
It's beautiful. So when you first started engaging these realms, I mean, what were the first places God took you? Was it like Eden, or did you sense the throne, or did you go somewhere in the earth? What were the first places that started to open up for you?
I mean, the first heavenly encounter was where the firestones are by the river of fire, where the Father's throne is around the fire. So the Ancient of Days and the Father, Jesus sitting next to him. So that was my first encounter. And eventually I found myself on my face before the throne of God, couldn't even look. I mean, I so desperately wanted to look at the Father on the throne, I couldn't even look. But I was aware there were thrones next to me going off in the distance. And so I crawled off and found where my throne was. And I sat on it. And that opened up immediately I was next to Jesus, who was next to the Father. And I think we're all next to Jesus, next to the Father, because we can all be there at the same time in that same dimension. And so that was the first started. Then I went through Eden and the waterfalls and the garden. And eventually I got to the Father's garden. And that's where everything began to become that oneness, that union, because the Father just wouldn't let me do anything. I'm a sort of a doer, was then, and I just wanted to, where are we going to go? What are we going to do? What's this about? What's going on? And he would just look at me, and I just had to stop. And eventually I got so much that I just stopped, that I was like floating in the air. Well, there's no air, but in the atmosphere. And eventually my whole being just spaghettified, and I was all out in creation. Literally, all the atoms and particles of my being was joined with the rest of creation. And that's the first time I really felt the desire of creation to be set free.
I know exactly what you're talking about, the expanded state, where it's like super expansion, super entanglement into creation, knowing it's almost all there, and it's all there. You're connected to it all. That's beautiful. Carry on, Mike. That's just, so what happened to your body at that moment? Were you just journaling, or were you sitting in the chair? Or
I was journaling, but I just stopped. I just became completely unaware of where I was.
Spaghettified.
Yeah. I mean, literally it was a complete trance-like state at that moment. When I was in the garden in the first time by the firestones, that was a trance-like state. I was just completely unaware of my physical surroundings and everything. And that was another one like that. I was just completely unified and one with creation, feeling the Father's desires for creation, but also feeling the creation's desire for oneness and restoration, really.
Wow. Yeah. I can feel that as we're talking. And guys, tap into this. I have had many things open up just by hearing someone's voice or being with them. It's like, as Mike's talking, I'm feeling that expandedness. I love having new words, spaghettification. Spaghettify us, Lord. Spaghetti. Someone's saying spaghetti must be in Romans. I'm sure it's there in one translation.
It is a technical word. It's actually a real word for that whole process.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So what happened after you experienced that expandedness, and why do you think that happened to you?
Well, I think it was to connect me with creation, to feel the Father's connectedness with creation, because if we're in him and he's connected to everywhere, then we're connected to everywhere. We just become more aware of it at some times. And this was a moment which I think was a signature moment. And I think I've probably had another 10 encounters like that, which have all been slightly different, but all have connected to me creation. And it's just given me a desire to see creation restored. I felt the burden that creation feels, the groaning, but I've also felt the joy and the pleasure of God's intention for creation that he originally had, and that it will be restored back to. And that motivates me. I mean, it just moves me with the desire to see everything and everything that Jesus created everything was created by him and for him, through him, and he has already reconciled all that. So it's a matter of bringing all that back into conscious relationship with what he's already done. So I think that was the sort of the things, and all this builds. You know, like you get an encounter like that. It's like you have no idea really what it was, but it was just so wonderful. And then another encounter and another one. Eventually, it builds to a state of being. So it's almost consciously, continually aware of that place.
It's kind of like, some people might be wondering, what does that feel like? It feels like part of you is just enjoying the it's like when you're enjoying the sun hitting you sitting in your kitchen, say, part of you is enjoying the sun. It's like part of you is caught away, isn't it? And caught away into lots of places. And I think that becomes normal, where, like Jesus said, I always do what I'm seeing, the Father doing. Having visions is kind of not the realm we're going to, is it? Visions are just snippets. They're like a picture. We call them pictures, but we're meant to live in the flow of a continual conversation where I know it sounds bad, but you don't need prophets in that, do you? Like you, Mike, don't need me to prophesy over you.
No.
Because you walk with Papa, you walk in union. It's the same for me. Like I'll often be puzzling over a question and I'll just talk to the Lord and he'll either take me to meet something or do something. And it's like beyond the prophetic as well, because the prophetic, so a vision came or a word came, but this has been in the Spirit at all times, where we start to live a very different life in a way, isn't it? Because if people walk past you in the street, they wouldn't know that you are this multidimensional being, cosmic being.
No. I think there's a sense where when you connect with people, you can feel and sense who they are, their spirit, their being. They might not know it themselves, but you can sometimes pick up the light that they're radiating. And that doesn't mean that they necessarily know what that is yet, but you sense it, and I feel it sometimes.
What's interesting for me, when Mike enters into the realm of heaven, for him it's a shift of his conscience from his natural environment into his heavenly environment where he is. And it's not really a place or a time, because he is aware of the fact that he's always in heaven. Now, for Justin, it's a little bit different, because he has a place where he feels safe and where he can worship and he can engage the Lord, and then he goes into the realm of the Spirit. So you can see it's a little bit different how they work. And I think the more we enter in, the easier it's going to be for us to make that shift of focus. I remember Ian Clayton said to us, he would sometimes sit in a rocking chair and he would rock forward and he would enter in and he rock back and come out. Rock forward, enter in, rock back, come out. And so the reason why he did that is just to learn how to enter in. And you also see when Ian Clayton does his activations, he'll always, at the end of the activation, always step out again. And I asked him, well, why can't he just stay? And he says, well, the thing is, he wants his soul to have a pathway so he can go back again. So it's important, don't just go in and then just stop there. Go through the whole pathway out again, so it's easy for you to enter in again. Now, I want to quickly just talk about this whole idea of when you go in heaven, what places you're going to see. So let's say you see Jesus and you enter through the gate of first love. So the first thing that I believe so I'm just going to write here at the top, places in heaven. And these things that I'm talking about is 100% of what I've experienced in my own life. So I always make sure that I see Jesus. So there's Jesus, and he's standing there. And what Jesus does, I always ask Jesus to take me where I want to go. So if you can say it like this, so let's go. There's the bus again. So this bus. Let's the two wheels. I'm going to call this bus Tours of Heaven. Okay, so this is the Tours of Heaven bus right here. Okay, and so what I want to do is, once I entered into the realm of heaven, I want to get on the bus with Jesus. And then Jesus takes me to different places in heaven. So if you want to take me to the courts of heaven, or to the throne room, to the river of the Father, into Eden, into the garden of the Father, Jesus will take me. And so I would say for probably the first 2-3 years, whenever I enter into the realm of heaven, I would always see Jesus, and he would always be my tour guide, and he would show me different things in heaven. And so that's how it was for me. And I feel safe when I'm with Jesus, because I see maybe something new that I'm not used to, but then I just look and I see there he is, and he looks happy. So if he looks happy, then I'm also going to be happy. And so then the second thing that happened to me is I saw a school. So I'm just going to write here, there's the school, and this school was the school of the 7 spirits of God. Now, 7 spirits of God. And the 7 spirits of God are governors that's in heaven. In Revelation 1, it says there, and I saw him who was, him who is, and the one who is to come. So it's the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And then I saw the 7 spirits of God in front of the throne of God. So the 7 spirits of God is not the Holy Spirit. They are governing beings in heaven. And so that's the government structure that is there in heaven. And so the 7 spirits of God, when you're on earth, can come on you. So that's why Jesus would say, the Spirit of the Lord is on me, or, he had wisdom on you, or he had understanding. But when you are in heaven, they actually have a school where you can come to the classes. I remember when Karen was going to the school, she would actually say every Wednesday morning, 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock, she goes for 2 hours to the school of the 7 spirits of God. So I think you can do tours with heaven with Jesus, which is wonderful. But at some point, he's going to say, I want you to mature, and then I want you to go to this school where you can train to be a governor, to be a son, so that you can function in the ministry call that God has for you on this earth. And you can also rise up and be presented by the Father as a son. And so that's why you need the training. In Galatians, I think it's chapter 4, it says that God is giving to us tutors and governors so that we can be tutored and be prepared until we can be presented as sons in the house of God. Okay, so that's what happens. And then I think from there, then I'll just write here dimensions. And when you listen to Mike, you'll see he goes to all kinds of amazing dimensions. He sometimes talk about creation and how he feels creation, groaning, and different angels and spiritual beings that he met. But I think to start, the main thing that you want to do is you want to go through Jesus. And once you went through Jesus, then allow Jesus to take you. And places that you definitely want to go is where the throne room of God is where the courtrooms of God is, the garden of the Father, the garden, the different gardens that's in Eden, and you want to experience maybe. There's all kinds of things that the Lord will show you. You can show you the streets of gold, the mansions, what is actually happening in heaven. I know some people a lot of times go to the places where the children that came into heaven are being nurtured. So you can go any of those places, and Jesus is happy to take you. But what you have to do is you got to show up so that he can take you there. So I hope this is encouraging and interesting, and maybe a little bit outside of the box for you. We believe in Jesus and we believe in the Bible, but we also believe that heaven is real, and God gave us access today to enter into the realm of heaven. And if you don't ever go, you're not going to know anything about it, and it's going to be difficult for you to comprehend. But I want to encourage you and invite you. Enter in. God loves you. Jesus paid a tremendous price for you to have access to the realm of heaven. And so we have access to it today. God bless you.